of the of what we're going to do today as well. So I gotta go okay so I can see things here. Okay, so have each of you have you used Menti before? I know I used it with your district when I led them through a facilitation for your action plan for the district. So I'm going to ask everybody not to get off your phone, but to get onto your phone if you could, and go to your browser, or you can do it on your computer if you like, because this is going to be an interactive process. You see, Rotary being a contact sport is that it's not it's not district's responsibility. It's not your club president's responsibility. It's each of our responsibility as Rotarians to build and nurture Rotary in our communities. So the if you go to menti.com, it's on the screen. It's menti.com right at the top there. And they're going to ask you for a code. If you could enter the 1554 5515, and it brings you to a first page saying, can you get on? So I'd like everybody to either put a Y or yes or whatever into that spot. If you don't have a phone, it won't affect, our overall performance. But if the more people that we can get to engage with this dialogue, I think it's going to be the best thing for your club, for sure. We getting close? Good. Nancy, you're in. Did you type in yes into the answer?
Yeah, I'm there with even with my email address on.
Okay. You said, did you submit? It says, what is your profession? What is your
That's
email?
right.
Oh, I got the wrong thing in there. Actually, if you could put that in, whatever you could put in there, let me know. That this is good because it's good. We're going to share it with everybody.
So we're waiting for you to change the slides.
Yeah, it's okay. So people have got everybody is in. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay.
So today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring to life the action plan.
Dan, can you put the code in the chat? One person just asked me for it and the screen changed.
Okay, so we'll go back. You can see 1554 5515.
Thank you.
Okay. I can't see the chat for some reason, but
Oh, okay, don't worry.
Nancy, if you could monitor that for me, if there's people that have.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you. So we're going to talk about the action plan, and we hear so much about it. But what I'd like to do is get ourselves grounded right away. And can I get somebody to read our vision statement for Rotary so you can see it on the screen? Everybody read it. Can I get somebody to
Terry,
mark it
can
up?
you read that? Terry.
Sure. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action and create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves.
You know, I have taught at the University of Calgary and Haskayne School of Business in strategy and building businesses and all that. This is one of the most powerful statements that I've ever seen. And when you break it down, you can see the capitalized words in there. Together, people create change, right? And in our communities and in ourselves, right? It's kind of a powerful, powerful statement. So tell me, what words resonate with you in that statement? Does anything resonate with you?
Well, those four words are very powerful. Together, people create change.
Yeah.
That has a degree of community, of connection, of action, and of getting results and working toward them. I really like that.
Okay, so if you could fill that in and submit it on your screen, your Menti, you can see I just kind of listened to what you said. Oh, here we go. You start to see the things that are really important to people with this word cloud. The action, the people, change, together, create. It just pulls out things that are really, really important to us. Now, this is the big global Rotary vision statement. But wow, if you take this right down to the club level, together, people are creating change out of the Winnipeg Rotary Club. I've been to your club a couple of times actually, but that's when you were downtown still and at the hotel and experienced some great Rotary experiences there. We actually had the Institute when I was district governor. It was there downtown. So look at this. So the main words that look like to me is together, change, and create. Right? Those are the words that are, and action is very important as well. Right? So we're people of action. So tell me, what are the core values that you see in your Rotary Club? What are the core things that are you can't trade them off? What are the things that are so important to you that we know, we're asked to adapt, we're asked to change, we're asked to do certain things, but there's some things we just can't, I'm not going to give up the four-way test, for example. To me, that's a fundamental four-way there. Somebody put it in. There we go. Right. And so, the other things like fun can be, or trusting each other, or action, right? Whatever the values are that are important to you, I think we need to have a dialogue about that, right? And when we come back to working on a plan for your club, community, oh yeah, perfect, right? Fellowship, excellent. Meeting community needs. Oh, okay. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, right? Meeting community needs. I think that fatness means fairness. Not that I'm a university prof and I do spelling checks or anything, but well, it's good. At least we got it in there, right? Look at this. We're full of action. We're full of fellowship. We're full of integrity, opportunities, community, right? These are powerful things that you're telling me, right? And powerful feelings that we can use. As a member of your club, this is up to 200 characters that you can put in here. What is it? We're talking about action plan. We talk about doing things. But what is it that you as a member, whether you're the president, Frank, or incoming at Opie, or whatever others are, wherever you are in the other clubs, what is it that you would like to see in the development of an action plan? Because too often we talk at this theoretical level. Oh, we're gonna create. We used to call it strategic planning. I think that's an oxymoron, actually, at the end of the day. But action planning for me, it's from plan to action. right? We can create all these great plans, but I love when I say, okay, well, let's take your plan and now let's create some action, right, from that. Reaching out to the community in a meaningful way to create positive change. Yeah. Okay. Way to get our goal successfully. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. To inspire people to come together to act. Absolutely. That's our vision statement, right? Let's bring us together. Let's get doing things together, right? The projects we do have an impact. Well, I'm going to be asking some questions about that shortly, right? Which is good. I know more than four of you have a voice. So it's important for me, and I think it's important for you as a member to feel like you have a voice. If we're going to follow the action plan, and one of them is to increase engagement of our members. Engagement to me means everybody has a voice and everybody has a role in pulling the rope. Expand our interaction with youth. Oh, that's great. Assisting them to enhance their leadership skills and drive action. When there's surveys are been done of Rotaractors and younger Rotarians, that's exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for mentorship, not just in their business, but they're looking for mentorship on how to be engaged, how to raise money, how to work on different boards. Create an opportunity for our members by involving them, identifying community-based project, great, encouraging youth to be leaders and taking Rotary to the world. Perfect. You know, Sometimes you meet with some of the younger members or some of the Rotaractors, and I get this feeling that we should sometimes get out of the way and let them take over. Like it's amazing the passion and energy they have. Maybe I know in the '60s when my hair was down to my shoulders, I thought I was going to change the world. And then I started my first business. I cut my hair and maybe I lost some of that, right? So it's great to have that passion, achieve goals. Reimagine the image of Rotary in our community to attract diverse members, especially young members, get them involved. Now, I'm not saying anything here, but younger members in your club could be people who are 40 or 50, right? And I don't want you to forget that. The diversity, and we get ourselves sometimes really, really focused on the 25 to 30 or 40-year-old. I was at the Council of Legislation a few weeks ago, and there's a big debate about restricting young people in Rotaract to be only to 30, and then they had to become Rotarians. That was defeated because too many people from around the world. There was 500 delegates from 200 countries there. They didn't feel that we were giving them what they needed yet to become members. We'll come back to that. Great answers. Great answers here. And again, I'm going to be sharing all this with Opie, and you'll have it. So this is a question that I ask, and it's a soul search, right? And this is a wonderful place where we all have a voice, and nobody knows who the voice is. So, what would improve your Rotary experience? What would make it better for you?
Hmm.
So the latest surveys that came out, and I'll be open about this. Latest surveys that came out, people primarily join Rotary for two reasons. The first is to do community service, and the second is for the fellowship and the friendship and all the things that go with it. Might be mentorship or whatever. Why are people leaving? Because of the fellowship is not what they expected. They're not being treated well personally. They're not accepted. Their ideas aren't accepted. Whatever it is, there's a culture of, come into our club and we'll do what you want to do. But then when they get there, no, you got to sell more tickets. Or you got to do this, or you have to become the treasurer, or you got to become this club secretary, whatever. So we look at our own personal needs within Rotary, maybe not necessarily our others, right? And the second reason they're leaving is, and I did a survey in my district, and it was really clear that the especially the younger people that we seem to be churning through Rotary, they didn't really feel that we were actively engaged in the community. They felt that we were darn good check writers because we could raise money, but we weren't actively engaged in building that strong community. In my own club, my wife is a past president of my club, and she left my club because of just that. She didn't feel supported. She didn't feel that some of her initiatives that were started and were doing amazing when she was president were being followed. So she went to another club that appreciated her. Right? It's interesting. My own experience. I'm kind of at a weird level here because I do a lot of the zone work. I do all the zone leadership training at the Institute. So I'm going to be in Winnipeg in September. I go to the council legislation. I see all that kind of stuff. And I'm a board member of the host organizing committee of the conference. And I'll tell you, I get my jollies in Rotary when I'm in Mexico building a home. I get it when I'm down at the satellite food bank that we created. I don't get my jollies in Rotary if nobody's got here less stuff to do. And we get focused on that a lot in Rotary. Oh, you have to fill in this form. You have to do it this way. This is the rules and regulations. At the council legislation, we're making it more, and that's what's the word I'm looking for, adaptable for clubs wherever you're at in your thing. So this is interesting. We want somebody sharing of my responsibilities. Okay, so somebody's overloaded here. We're overworked. We need to do that. Yeah, I did that when my wife was president. Our treasurer resigned. I said, "Oh, I can help you." It was 3 years later that I got off doing that. I don't know why I was doing it, but anyway, we do it, right? Fellowship and mentorship. Yeah, more fellowship. Being able to have more interactions. That's so important. Friendship and collaborative projects. Great. More hands-on. Fellowship. More time to have generative discussions. More community work. Wow, this is pretty, why did we join? Oh, look at this. Fellowship and mentorship. Why did we join? To do community projects and be engaged. Perfect. So this is the action plan, summarized. I don't know how to do this. I'm not Mr. Technology. The Rotary action plan, again, we've got our vision statement up there. And I don't know about you, but I've been in Rotary. I'm the first millennial in Rotary. I joined when I was 26. I'll just let you know that was 43 years ago that I joined Rotary. So I've been through, hey, I was there before Nancy, you would have been allowed in there, right? I was in there. I've seen the really heyday of Rotary. I've the start of the Polio Plus program all the way to where we are today, right? I don't think in my history in Rotary, there's been a time where we should be more relevant. This is the time. And I saw it and heard it when I was at the council, when you've got 200 countries there, 200 looks at what's happening in the world of Rotary. And we, right now, especially in Canada, we've got a huge opportunity to be really, really relevant. And the American groups, they've divided themselves. It's interesting, but they need to step up, right? So now's the time for us to get together. Now's the time for us to be in the community, right? And what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about increasing our impact, expanding our reach, enhance our engagement, participant engagement, and increasing our ability to adapt.
Hey,
Does anybody
Nobody.
here? Hello? Hello? Sorry, somebody trying to. There's something in the chat, Nancy, that I should be seeing.
Not that I saw, no.
Okay. So, kind of really theoretical. And I know you've heard about it. I know it was at I worked the full 2 days with your district leadership team on going through these different areas. Is there, in your minds, is there something that's more important than the other? Increase our impact, or expanding our reach, or
Like our club played a role with Sleep in Heavenly Peace a couple of weeks ago, building beds for
yeah,
children in need. And we built 53 beds in 5 hours.
yeah,
And we all pulled together. We all worked really hard. But it had an important connection to the community in the sense that we were taking our time. We were talking theoretically. We were building beds, and we were being taught how to do it. We worked as a team. There were about 30 of us there, mostly Rotarians. It was one of the most satisfying volunteer experiences I've ever had. So, wow.
Terry, that's amazing.
You know,
The chat, raise your hand so that I can. So somebody, Mr. iPhone.
That's Fred Wright. Fred, did you have a comment?
Oh, Fred, that's you. Oh, can we
no, I don't know if my volume's on.
can we mute Fred? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine. I'm on my phone and I'm not understanding how to relate with the phone.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to share with you. Again, I gave you my spirit name, Kish Tanaka, which was gifted to me by a Blackfoot elder, and Casey Eagle Speaker. His line to me, because I've been trying to get more Rotary involved with our Indigenous community, right? And he said, Dan, you must stop doing to, stop doing for, and begin doing with. So, Terry, to your point, what you did, you were doing it with the community, and that just enhanced the whole sustainability of what you're doing. Incredibly powerful,
And
right?
it sure felt that way.
That's awesome.
I have a medical condition that prevents me from standing for more than 5 minutes. I stood for 5 hours building my portion of the beds. And I didn't even notice the pain because I was so driven and preoccupied, and I was having such a wonderful time with the other people in the room. I felt like I was really accomplishing something.
Thank you. And thank you, the club, for doing that. I mean, that shows you what we need to be able to do, right? So the action plan, the priority number one is increase our impact. So we have a tendency to be problem solvers. We want to come in and solve the problem. But what do we need to do if we're going to increase our impact? Right? Where the action plan, the priority is we're increasing our impact. we're thriving in this data world that we need to measure stuff all the time and do some things that in there. But what is it? You can see in the circle, so the main topic areas that really what a club can do. And the first part is really creating a focus on issues that matter most to your community. How do you do that? How do you know what those issues are? Somebody want to put their hand up? Or Frank, you're muted.
Have to meet with the community.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we got to meet with them, right, Frank?
Well, mine was talk with people and listen.
Yeah, I think my mom told me this. You are given 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Good.
We need to listen twice as much as we speak. And we gotta know at the end of the day whether we're having a sustainable impact in the community, don't we? Sometimes it feels good just to write a check, but do we know what the impact has been? What are we measuring? What are we gathering, right? Terry, you just said it says here we need to share stories of the measurable difference you're making. Right? Should those stories be our stories or should they be the community that you're working with?
I posted some videos on Instagram about what we were doing in the bed build, and they got 300 views. Clearly, people in the community wanted to know what we had done, and they wanted to see the people who were doing it.
I'm going to ask the question because I think what you did is awesome. That's great. You're telling the story. Was there a call to action at the end of that story?
That's a very good question, Dan, because I don't think there was. That is something that I missed.
Okay,
Well,
sorry,
the other part of the process, Terry participated in the building part, but the other part is actually participating in the delivery of the beds, and that is it's quite emotional in some cases, seeing, because the way they do it is they bring all the parts and then they keep the family out of the room and they assemble it and put it together, put the mattress on, blankets and so on. And then they let the children and the parents come into the bedroom. And it's quite amazing the reaction of the children who likely had no bed before that time. So as I say, it can be quite emotional, and the homes that you go into vary a great deal.
We've got so many Rotary stories, and I just got back from Mexico, my 18th trip with my wife, building homes in Mexico. We build this year. We only built two, but at the end of the day, we've committed. We've probably built over 70 homes in the Tijuana, Ensenada, Tecate areas, and I've become a leaker because, to your point, Frank, it gets so emotional when you hand the keys and you see the impact on the children. And the line I use is, when you share your stories, you have to share your vulnerability a little bit too. And when you're in doing a project, I don't care where it is, whether it's in Winnipeg or Mexico or even Thunder Bay. Like, how do you have to allow yourself to live in the moment as a Rotarian, not to judge what you're seeing, but to live in the moment and experience the moment. This last comment in the circle is a real critical one that I think that we fail to look at. and that is to improve those projects over time. So I've been in Rotary a long time, and I know there's some projects my club's done year after year after year because that's the way we do it, right? And all of a sudden, it became apparent that we needed to change how we did it and be more engaged with the club. And that's part of the fourth pillar that we're going to talk about is our ability to adapt and not get ourselves cemented in because of things in the way we've done them in the past. So this is the great thing. I need you to go back on here, and I'd love you to tell me, share with me how the Rotary Club of Winnipeg has impacted your community. I went in and I had a look at your the 100-year history, and our downtown Calgary club always bristles over here in Winnipeg was the first, but we acknowledge you and we thank you for making us international. But what is it that maybe that you've been engaged with in your club that's impacted the community?
I don't want to talk too much, but we had a program called well, we still do, or it still exists, but we aren't involved with it, called CSI, Community School Investigators. The kids named it. It was really a summer learning enrichment program for kids who came from poor homes and so on, where there were no books and so on during the summer, or no summer camp and these kinds of things. And so they got 6 weeks of programming, a lot of fun stuff, but it usually had education in it as well. And at the end, if they attended enough sessions, they were given $200 at the end of the program. And one of the people who worked on the a Rotarian who was involved years ago, heard the story of one kid. They asked him what he wanted, and he wanted to get a crib for his younger sibling. And so that was I always get emotional when I even try to tell the story.
Yeah, amazing.
And so that it's quite impressive that kind of experience can lead to those results.
It's so here's my question. And it's kind of a self-reflective question. So how many members do you have in your club now?
68.
68? Okay. That's about the same size as my club. We're 75 or something like that, but we only have about 40. But that's a whole other issue, right? But how many of those 68 people can tell a story about how Winnipeg impacted the community? Could every one of their members do every one of your members have a story?
I would say about half them.
About half of them. And Frank, that's about what I saw when I was district governor and I was touring around, because I had this survey, and I'd always look up and see what clubs are doing before, like I did tonight for you guys. And when I asked this question, like, tell me something cool about your club. Tell me what you're doing. It's a hard one sometimes to get it going, the energy going, but usually one leads to another kind of answer. And I found that it was about a 50% participation rate in what I was asking. So really, we want to impact our community more, right? So one of the next things that we're going to talk about is increasing engagement, right? Because I want everybody in Rotary, everyone in my club, and everybody I touch to have a Rotary moment that they can share. Okay. So we talked earlier, how do we figure out what's in the needs are in the community? Have you guys done a community assessment lately? Have you chatted with anybody in the community? What what is what do you see today as the needs in your community in Winnipeg, or in that area? Dave, for you up in Portage La Prairie, tell us what is it is needed?
Well,
Mental health service, especially for youth. Oh, wow, well done. Yeah. I'm going to share with you one of the interesting stories is when I was district governor, there was one of the clubs, uh, it was Raymond, which is right down on the southern border, right on the United States border, small Mormon community. And the Rotary Club had gotten themselves down to 6 members. And I was told basically, bring your shovel, dig the hole, fill it up, it's over. But I started to listen to the members that were there, and they were really, really passionate about their community. So I said, I'm coming back next week, and we're going to go. We went to, did a good old fashioned fireside at one of the members' homes, past president of their home. And I said, I want you to invite community leaders. So they invited the guy that's not the mayor, but whoever did the main administrator for their town, the sports person, and 5 or 6 people that were really engaged in the community. And I said, okay, we're going to meet, but we're not going to talk about Rotary. We're not going to talk about Rotary. And I just said, trust me. So I started asking questions to this guy that I'm going to call him the mayor because I don't, Reeve, is that the right word? I'm not sure. So I said, tell me what's going on. What do you need in the community? I said, well, there's a pathway at the south side of town that, it was done about 20 years ago. And, for safety reasons, we think we might have to shut it down. And one of the Rotarians said, wait a minute, are you talking about Rotary Trail? Yeah, we're talking about Rotary Trail. And all of a sudden the Rotarian said, well, we've got funding and we can fix that trail. Project number 1. Number 2, one of the guy in the health services said, well, we're going to lose our handy bus program. And one of the Rotarians said, what do you mean? I'm one of the drivers. How are we going to get all our elderly people into Lethbridge for their services? Well, we've lost financing. We don't have the budget for it. And how much is the budget? And whatever that was, they said, hey, we could do that. Project number 2. Number 3, there was a guy from the Kainai Nation. He was a policeman on the Kainai Nation. Oh, we've got a real problem with our youth. There's no direction. They need some leadership skills, do whatever. And the guy whose home we were in, he ended up becoming district governor after this. He said, well, we could do an interact club out at the middle school. Project number 4. My point is the projects were right in front of everybody's face, but we never asked. They never asked. 3 weeks later, I inducted 6 new members. I doubled the size of their club because they saw that there was an engagement in the community and things to do. Okay. So again, it's a lesson for all of us, right? The answers can be right in front of us. I see lots of youth programs, mental health, homelessness, and that's becoming just a real issue. Priority number 2, expand our reach. People of action inspire others to give to the world, right? To get involved with this. What does expand the reach mean to you? What does that mean? Anybody? Sounds pretty academic, but it's actually pretty simple. Dave, you've heard these blurbs before sometimes. Maybe what do you see in expanding your reach?
Well, you're right, Dan. I did see you when you were in Russell there for at DLS. I must have slept through this. I'm just kidding.
Well, there was a few, don't.
To me, expand your reach is, obviously, you would like to get new members to join your club, but I think expanding your reach would be just going outside your comfort zone. If that means a project that maybe you haven't done before, you haven't tried before, maybe you should talk about doing that. Just doing different things.
Okay, great. Anybody else have another take on expanding your reach?
To me, it's getting Rotary recognized. There's not a lot of people out there that know what Rotary is again. We go in the Pride Parade in Winnipeg, and that's one way I think we're trying to expand our reach. Carrying the Rotary flag, have the truck decorated with Rotary symbols, and having Rotarians walking along. And last year we did have a few people say, "Way to go, Rotary." So that made us feel good.
So you kind of partnered with another group, right? You get engaged with other people. Like the answer's on the screen there. We know there are many people seeking both a greater sense of purpose and the kind of person-to-person involvement that the digital realm can't provide, right? There's lots of people we can partner with in the community.
Well, earlier in May, I sat in on a Rotary meeting in which grade 12 students from 2 high schools were talking about what they were doing at the inspiration of Rotaract. And they were very clear about what they were trying to achieve, everything from cleaning up the schoolyard to providing clothing and food for needy students. And it was a very inspiring bit of activity that they were doing. I was thrilled that the Rotary had played a role in helping with that. And I want to help to tell that story. In fact, I recorded their 2 presentations on Instagram, but darned if I can figure out how to edit them shorter to upload them onto Instagram. So I need some help on that. But again, I was so thrilled to hear these students talk about what they were doing at these 2 high schools.
Again, I'm going to share from that Raymond Club. One of the projects I said they wanted a youth program or an interact club, and we created one at the middle school on the Kainai. And first meeting we're at, it was unbelievable. We had about 18 young people. I think there's only 2 guys. Most of them were the young women. And we just said, what do you want to do in your community? These are kids in grade 8, grade 9 that were there. And this one little girl said, can we bake some cakes and sell them? Because they're getting some of the home skills and cooking skills in the school that they don't get at home. And I asked, well, what will you do with the money from the cakes? Well, we could give it to the food bank, and so that they'll have food there when we go to get food. Oh. So that motivated us to work with the food bank, and we got other things happening. The second one was, I'll never forget this young woman. She got up and she started in tears, but she said, "Can we plant a tree in front of everybody's home who has lost a family member this year to suicide and opioids and whatever?" And they were losing, this nation, they were losing a person a day on average, a person a day. Fast forward, we enacted on that. And Frank, to your point about the emotion, can you imagine the emotion of the families when these young people showed up because it was their project? We helped them fundraise, we helped do whatever. When they were gifting those trees to those families, and you heard about their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, their granddad, whatever it was, right? Pretty incredible, pretty powerful. And you look on the screen right now, we're expanding our reach. First thing we've got to do is share, 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 right? Talk about it, right? I I'm always cognizant of where I go and what I do. I wear these bands for end polio. I wear my Rotary pin. I wear different things. Why? So when somebody asks me what's Rotary, I can share a personal story. I don't talk about you meet every week and you got 60 members in our club and we have parties once a quarter or whatever it is, right? I talk about the things where we've been in the community and we're impacting. But I always have a call to action at the end. And my question is I never ask somebody to join Rotary. I ask them, tell me what you're interested in the community. And I'm asking this question because it's important to understand that when Opie joined or Dave joins or John or Ernie, Adewal, Larry, when you joined Rotary, did you come with your own passions for the community? I would expect you do. And I would expect, especially newer, younger members that are in the community, they have a passion for something. So
Dan, I have to tell you that one of the things that appealed to me was my own loneliness. I had retired from a very engaging job. I was a radio host, loved it, met new people all the time. When I left that job with CDC, the phone stopped ringing and my social world began to shrink really dramatically. And I needed Rotary for new people who were showing me how to be motivated when work doesn't provide that motivation.
have you shared that story? I mean, that to me is why I'm in Rotary, right? And continue to be Rotary. It's the fellowship and the friends.
Yeah, yeah.
And Fred knows this. In end of January, my wife succumbed to. She had a concussion about a month before, and then she had an incredibly serious brain bleed. Her brain was shifted over here, and became totally comatose. And she had to have two uh, neurological emergency surgeries. I'm shortening this down quite a bit, but those 2.5 weeks that we were in the hospital, I got my new Rotary experience because of the friendships that I have now in my world, my Rotary world. We were getting prayers. We were supposed to be in Orlando doing the facilitation for the IA, but those people were every day they were sending their prayers, their love, their positive energy. And my wife today will tell you that's one of the reasons she's still here. And that's my new Rotary moment, that fellowship, that sense of belonging, that to build that community, right? And it's so important. So the other things when we're expanding our reach is, do we ever get engaged? Has anybody done anything with Kiwanis? Anybody done anything with Lions Club? Anybody
Well,
done anything with the church?
We have an annual luncheon in December with the Kiwanis, but that's our only outreach to another group.
So it's
No,
interesting.
but
So
a few of our members belong to Toastmasters.
Toastmasters, okay, yeah. But sometimes, we maybe don't have the energy or the funding or the whatever we need to do for a project in our community that these other people who are incredibly engaged in their community can help us. We can walk side by side. We can be engaged with them. And to me, it's not about ownership, it's about creating change in the world. People coming together. I'm going to keep reminding you of our vision statement, right? So we need to reach out to new groups and partners and participants, right? And internally, um, do we have to? I know you guys have looked at different things. I know you've moved from where I knew you from to out to the golf course, and you've got different things happening on your meetings. Is there what works for everybody? Do we have some solutions that we can? Or what are our members telling us that we need to do?
Well, before COVID, we used to have 4 or 5 meetings a month and have a speaker, and that was the standard format.
Yeah.
Lunch, speaker, and happy bucks, and go home. Now, our in-person meetings, we sometimes have one speaker, but often we have 2 or sometimes multiple people just giving a short 5-minute report on something and so on. They take more time to organize, but they seem to draw people out. People come and we get from 30 to 35 people at a meeting, and
Yeah.
to me that's success. So that's been a major change of having just more people, more diversity in our club.
So it's interesting when the comments that you put in, what more could you do in your club? People wanted more fellowship and they wanted more projects in the community, right? When is the best fellowship that you could experience in Rotary? Terry kind of mentioned it, the working beside everybody and doing those beds, right? Like when I joined, I didn't join to have, necessarily for all the mentorship. I wanted to be in the community. But now, gee, my bankers are Rotarian, my lawyers are Rotarian, my accountants are Rotarian, right? And where did I build that relationship? It was working a bingo with them. It was working building homes out in wherever it was, these mini homes we did. Like it was working beside somebody. And I want to challenge you a little bit on that because my mentor in Rotary, who brought me in, Ron Jones, he was a vice president for a major construction company. I don't know, Fred, if you ever knew Ron, it was Eltacan Oland, or Fred, if you knew that. But Ron brought me in, and it was tough to bring a 26-year-old guy into Rotary 46 years ago. Let me tell you. But I got in there, and it was amazing, and they got me engaged. I was club secretary by July. I joined in February, and 3 years later, I was district secretary. But Ron ran. We did some projects for It was great in the day where we would actually buy some condos and we'd convert them for accessible housing for quadriplegics or paraplegic people with spinal cord injuries. And Ron, being in construction, he had us going and doing and organizing and whatever. Fast forward some 30 years, Ron's health was, he was retired, his health was kind of doing, and I saw you guys do more, you did Habitat for Humanity kind of stuff. So we had a habitat build that we were going to do. And I was sitting beside Ron at the Rotary meeting. I said, Ron, I don't see your name on the list. He said, Dan, don't be funny. I can't go out there and hammer anymore. I can't do what I used to do. And I said, Ron, absolutely you can do what you used to do. You organized us and taught us more when you were there than you can imagine. Sure enough, Ron took over kind of the project management thing that we were doing. And it just re-engaged him in Rotary. Our reach, our engagement is different for every person. So, how can you expand the reach of the Rotary Club of Winnipeg or Portage La Prairie?
A question for you, Dan, is that we frequently hold our meetings at a place called the Winnipeg Winter Club, and we have a meal, but that's $30 for the meal and for the gathering at the Winter Club. But I'm thinking of people with less resources to be able to pay for that kind of stuff. And we get together and meet and chat and talk about new ideas. But what do we do about those people who can't afford to attend our meeting because it's too expensive?
And, it's not always the new younger members that can't afford it. I'll just say that because it's a diverse group, and I can see on the screen we got a diversity here, and we got to find some solutions. So if every meeting is there and every meeting is going to be that kind of cost, which is, some people just can't afford it, especially if I don't know if you have any partners in your club, but you double that up. Can you find alternatives where they don't have to buy a meal? I went to a meeting. I was asked to speak out in Golden, British Columbia, and I show up. My wife and I show up, and we're sitting in the hotel lobby waiting, and we see these people walking in with Kentucky Fried Chicken, and somebody's got a pizza box, and somebody's got a Subway bag, and we're going, uh-oh, what should we have picked up our lunch? And what it was is their club had this affordability issue because there was some real financial issues in the area at the time. And so the owner of the hotel was the Rotarian. He gave them the room for the cost of the coffee, and people could bring their own food in. And they made it work, right? Some people they brought us Kentucky Fried Chicken, which my wife was a phys ed teacher for 37 years. It didn't sit well, but she ate it. But anyway, but we need to find some flexibility there. We'll come back because I've got some more questions on that. I'm really looking for answers. Go to your mentee.
So Dan, could I
Yep.
just give you a heads up, another 10 minutes or so?
Yep, that's what we got.
Yeah. Okay.
Assuming you guys put stuff in here. If you don't, I can sit all night. How can you expand the reach of the Rotary Club of Winnipeg? This is your answer. I can't tell you how to do that.
These students, the high school students that I recorded last week from 2 high schools, were very focused on what they were trying to achieve, and they were young. Are they called rotor actors when they're younger people?
Interact.
Interact. And they were very clear about what it was they were trying to achieve and what they were doing to try to achieve that. So the reach of the club was, I think, significantly increased because the students got so many other students fired up in their schools to be able to want to take part. And so the reach of a Rotary inspired activity was pretty successful. So that was something that made me very proud, and I really loved what they were telling me.
So some great answers in here. Well, again, you're going to get copies of these. So this is the start of your journey for the action plan. So here's a good question for everybody, and you can all answer it on your screen, on Menti. Have you invited anyone to join the Rotary world in the last 2 years? Four of you have?
I don't know what the Rotary world is.
Well, it could be your Rotary club. It could be a Rotaract club. It doesn't need to be your own club.
Oh, okay.
Could also be joining an activity.
Yeah. So we got 13 here. So 6 of you have said yes. 7 of you aren't sure.
Well, an interesting thing in our club is that we've had, in the past 2 years, we've had a lot of people coming to us, and they almost submit letters like they're applying for a job.
Yeah.
So it's quite a turn of events where we used to always be challenging our members to go out and ask someone to become a Rotarian. And the challenge we have now is retaining these people, getting them engaged in projects and so on to keep them involved.
Are you doing any of the projects that they submitted to you? There's one question. So 7 of you don't want to give me the answer, so I'm going to say you didn't bring somebody in. And so here's the next question. If you did, why? If you didn't, why not? What's stopping you? Where's your passion? Because of time and people scratching, I'm going to move on unless if somebody's got some things they want to put in here. Okay, I'll go. Priority 3 is enhanced participant engagement. Again, we got the people that we have, how do we keep them there? So this is a recommitment to putting the needs and expectations and growth of our participants at the center of all we do. Let's just not do stuff because we've always done it. Let's not just do stuff to keep busy. Let's focus on our members and how can they grow? What are their needs? You know, Terry said his need was very clear. He needed that fellowship and reinforcement. I know in the survey that I did of our own club, it hit me to the core because there was a member that reported that I can walk into this club and I've been a member for 5 years and I'm totally invisible. That hurt. And there are some members of my club that said, well, it's their job to get to know us. I'll leave that. I won't make any more comments about that. Together, let's recommit to putting the needs and expectations and growth of our participants, whether they're people we invited to help us in the community, whether it's our members, our partners who may be not members of Rotary. How do we make it important and center of what we do? So here's the thing, because we're going to get finished. You need to seek feedback, honest, open feedback from your members. I love surveys because people can be anonymous. And today, using this Menti, it's the first time doing it. Maybe if we do something again, you'll be more comfortable and we can get things going. Do a health check. Opie, I think you've seen that health check, or Dave, I know you've seen it. There's health checks that are available that we can have a look at. Adopt a more participant-centered approach. It's not our board that tells them where to go. It's where our members tell us where to go and how to do it. Find new ways to include everyone. Just like I told that story about my mentor, Ron Jones. He's passed now, but he had a great last 5 years in Rotary because he was a coordinator, right? There's different ways to get people engaged. And this is a question I'll leave with you, because how do you shift your focus from gaining new members to engaging our members here? Because in Rotary, the big issue is we have our attrition and we have our growth. Our attrition is the people who are leaving. What do you think the average across our zone is for a healthy club's attrition? How many, on average, do you think a healthy club, they'll lose 10% on average? How many do they attract? A healthy club? 14%. Yeah, there's a change, there's a delta. Now, if I looked at your membership numbers, and I did that a few years ago when I was working with Fred and the team, you had higher attrition than attraction. And you know what? Every club is different. I've never suggested every club has the same problems. They may have the same symptoms. But this is one you need to reflect for yourself. Priority 4, people of action are inventive, entrepreneurial, and resilient. So, how can we increase our adaptability to adapt? Number 1, I'll share it this way, and then I'm going to move to the last question. I had to shut a business down back in the early 90s that I owned. And being an academic, I was still teaching at the university. I wrote this article that won an award. And what is the best business lesson I ever learned? Is it the truth? To be honest with myself. To be honest with myself. The 4-way test isn't my window how I evaluate Fred or Opie or Ryder. Is that how I say that? Right? It's a lens on what I'm looking at. Am I telling the truth? Am I building better friendships? Is it beneficial for everybody? Right? So try new meeting schedule. Keep trying it. You know what? Something's going to work. So some of them aren't, but who cares? If it's not working now and your solution didn't work, okay, let's find another one. Right? Be adaptable. Don't own it personally. Right? And again, invite non-members and advisors to share new perspectives. Bring people in just to talk, just like that Raymond Club. Right? You could do it in Winnipeg. You could do it in an area, right? You could do it in Portage la Prairie. We can do it. We just have to listen and then engage them. How can we inspire people to take action? This is where I say Rotary is a contact sport because we got to play the game. We got to be on the field. We got to be throwing the pass, doing the surveys, doing the things that we need to do. Together, let's stay true to ourselves and stay ahead of change in our next 115 years. Thank you. And I hope I will be sending you a copy of this report. I'll send it to Opie. And I hope that you got kind of an idea of where you can go to really make that Winnipeg club hit it out of the park.
Good.